Throw her out. Look at those results. That baby isn't even your blood. My mother-in-law, Brenda, didn't just speak, she practically screamed it across the full dining room table, pointing a shaking finger directly at my face while the rest of the family sat frozen mid-bite. She had spent 6 months dropping subtle, toxic hints about my character, but opening an envelope in front of 8 people during Sunday dinner was her grand finale. According to rumors she'd been spreading to my husband's relatives for months, I was stepping out on him during his business trips, and speculation was she actually paid for an illegal swab test herself just to ruin my marriage. What if I told you that the envelope she slammed on the table didn't contain my ruin, but hers? Look, when someone tries to publicly execute your reputation in front of your entire in-law family, you don't scream. You don't cry. You just sit back and watch the trap spring. If you're new here, subscribe, I post a new story every day. Because honestly, the sheer nerve of this woman to orchestrate a full-blown dramatic reveal over roast beef is something you have to hear to believe. Let's rewind for a second, because you need to understand the absolute toxicity we were dealing with before this dinner from hell even happened. My husband, Mark, and I have been married for 3 years. Brenda never liked me, not for a single second. To her, I was the outsider who stole her precious boy away, and when I got pregnant with our daughter, Maya, her passive aggressiveness turned into full-on warfare. She'd look at the baby and say things like, "Oh, she has my side of the family's nose, but I just can't see Mark in her eyes at all." Isn't that strange? Yeah, real subtle, right? I tried ignoring it. Mark tried shutting it down. But Brenda was on a mission. Wait, let me rethink how insane this actually was. She literally convinced herself that because Mark travels 4 days a month for work, I was hosting some secret lover at our house. I'll be honest, I didn't expect what came next, but 3 weeks ago, Brenda offered to babysit Maya for an afternoon. Now, I found out later that while she had my 3-month-old daughter, she used an at-home DNA cheek swab kit she bought online, took a sample from Mark's old toothbrush from our guest bathroom, and mailed it off. I mean, who does that? Who secretly swabs a newborn baby behind their mother's back? Would you have lost your absolute mind right then and there if you found out your mother-in-law did that? Let me know below, because I swear my blood pressure spiked just processing it. Anyway, fast forward to this past Sunday. Brenda insists on hosting a big family dinner. Mark's brother, his wife, the aunts, everyone was invited. We sit down, grace is said, plates are being passed, and then Brenda taps her glass with a spoon. She stands up, reaches into her purse, and pulls out a thick white envelope with a red priority label on it. Before we enjoy this meal, she says, her voice trembling with this fake, performative sadness, I have a heavy duty to protect my son from deceit. Mark looks at her like she's lost her mind. Mom, what are you talking about? Sit down. No, Mark. I won't sit down while you're being played for a fool. She rips open the envelope, pulls out the paper, and slams it right next to Mark's plate. That baby isn't yours, she announces to the entire room. I had a paternity test done. Probability of paternity, 0%. She cheated on you, Mark. The entire table goes dead silent. I mean, you could hear a pin drop on the carpet. Mark's sister gasped. His uncle stopped chewing. Brenda was standing there, chest puffed out, looking like she just won an Olympic gold medal in family destruction. Now, here's where I'd have lost it if I hadn't known what was coming. See, Brenda thought she was a mastermind. What she didn't realize is that the DNA testing company sends a digital confirmation text to the email and phone number attached to the account used to order the kit. And because Brenda is terrible with technology, she used Mark's old laptop at our house to order the test, and used his primary email address for the account settings. Mark had received the results PDF in his inbox 3 days before this dinner even happened. He knew the test was ordered. He knew his mom took a swab from Maya. And he also knew something else that Brenda completely overlooked in her desperate rush to destroy me. Mark didn't yell. He didn't even flinch. He slowly picked up the paper off the table, looked at it, and then looked up at his mother. Mom, Mark said, his voice terrifyingly calm. Did you read the names on this lab report? Brenda smirks. I don't need to read the names. The numbers say 0%. She lied to you. Mom, Mark repeated, louder this time. Read the sample names. I sat back, took a sip of my water, and watched her world crumble in real time. Brenda snatched the paper back, pulled out her reading glasses, and started skimming the fine print at the top. And then, the color completely drained from her face. I'm talking ghost white, instantaneous realization. See, when Brenda went into our guest bathroom to steal a DNA sample from Mark's toothbrush, she grabbed the wrong one. Mark hadn't used that bathroom in months. His visiting cousin, David, who had stayed with us 2 weeks prior, left his electric toothbrush head in the holder. Brenda had tested my daughter's DNA against Mark's cousin. Of course, the probability of paternity was 0%. Now, if that was the end of the story, it would already be a massive win. But it gets so much worse for Brenda. Mark stands up from the table. He pulls his own phone out of his pocket, taps the screen, and turns it toward his family. This is the actual paternity test, Mark said, his voice echoing across the room. The one I did officially through our pediatrician 2 weeks after Maya was born because I knew you were spreading rumors, Mom. He pointed to the screen. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. She is my daughter. She has always been my daughter. Mark looked at his mother, who was currently shaking so hard she could barely hold the paper she'd just slammed down. You violated my daughter's bodily autonomy, Mark told her, every word sharp as a razor. You invaded our home, you stole property, and you tried to publicly humiliate my wife in front of our entire family. Brenda tried to open her mouth. Mark, I was just trying to protect. Shut up, Mom, Mark cut her off. It was the first time in his life he had ever spoken to her like that. Get out. Mark, please. I said get out. And don't ever look at my wife or my daughter again. Mark's uncle stood up, looked at Brenda in absolute disgust, and said, Brenda, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. His own family turned their backs on her right there at the table. Brenda grabbed her purse, burst into tears, real tears of embarrassment this time, not her fake performative ones, and practically ran out the front door. I'll be real with you guys, sitting there watching her walk out after months of her trying to tear my life apart was one of the most satisfying moments I have ever experienced. Since that night, Mark blocked her number on both of our phones. His family completely froze her out of upcoming holiday plans, and she is officially banned from seeing her granddaughter. She tried sending a flying monkey aunt to apologize on her behalf last week, saying Brenda was just confused and acted out of maternal concern. Yeah, right. Maternal concern doesn't involve staging an execution at Sunday dinner. What this story really shows you is that when people operate out of pure malice and hatred, they almost always orchestrate their own downfall. Brenda was so blinded by her desire to ruin me that she didn't even check the basic facts on the weapon she tried to use against us. She traded her relationship with her son and her only granddaughter all for a moment of cheap drama, and ended up losing everything instead. What would you have done if you were sitting at that table? Would you ever forgive a mother-in-law for pulling a stunt like this, or is cutoff the only answer? Drop your verdict in the comments below. I really want to read what you guys think about how Mark handled it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I drop a brand new story every single day. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next confession.